My name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and you are listening to Chaotic Riffs magazine. We can be found on the web at www.chaoticriffs.com. It's my great pleasure to be speaking with Jason Green, who many people know as the manager of Sin City Sinners, and he's also the bass player in the Las Vegas-based Sin City Rejects. How you doing tonight, Jason?
Good, thank you, Jason.
Now,
easy to remember your name.
Yeah, easy to remember. Now, obviously, you're a musician, so I was kind of curious, getting to know the Jason Green story a little. How old were you when you first started playing, Jason?
I bought a guitar when I was probably like 14 or 15 years old at Manny's Music in New York City on 48th Street. Which
Okay.
I just heard they're tearing it down actually now.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I bought a Yamaha guitar there. Thought I was going to be a great guitar player, and I got the Mel Bay book, and I was pretty bad actually. And later on, I got lessons from Nick Bocott.
Oh wow!
Yeah, guitar player for Grim Reaper. And it was funny is he had a band called Barfly at the time. I was in high school.
Okay.
And he wrote the guitar playing column in the back of Circus Magazine.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, it was really cool thing. And then he also started working for Guitar World. And I figured, if I'm going to get somebody a guitar teacher, I want to get somebody who's famous and known for teaching.
Wow.
It turns out he had never taught anyone before. I think to this day I'm his only student, except for his instructional videos and things. But he was a lefty, so it was really kind of an odd way to learn. It was like looking at a mirror. But I used to go out to Hoboken, New Jersey once a week and take guitar lessons with him. And I still wasn't very good. But it was also hard to be around other people who were into what I was into. And, when you're a kid, it's hard to find fellow musicians who get it sometimes.
Yeah.
And but I bought a guitar because of Johnny Ramone. I heard the Ramones. And that was it. I knew why I wanted to play guitar. And when I was a kid, I ran into Johnny Ramone in the village outside his apartment, and he talked to me for an hour. He didn't have to talk to me. And it was to meet my hero like that and tell him the reason I bought a guitar was amazing. And over the years, I stayed in touch with him and seen him a lot. And saw him a few months before he passed away in LA and stuff. And I was always happy to be able to talk to him about everything but politics.
Oh, yeah. How cool is that? Yeah.
Didn't care for his politics, but we always talked about the Yankees and guitar playing. And I was really lucky. And I remember a lot of guitar players telling me, "Wow, you're lucky you met your hero," and they were cool. It doesn't always happen that way. So anyway, I play guitar, and I just kind of put it on the shelf to do other things in my life, and didn't expect to ever play again. I wasn't great. I played bar chords and punk songs, and I always wanted to write songs though, and I had a career as a writer. So
wow. And now getting back to Nick Bocott, now when you started taking lessons with him, I was curious. Did that all start just as a matter of you? Like, did you go to the guitar store where he worked? Did you reach out to him, write to him?
It's funny. I always had guts, I think it's one of the reasons why Sin City Sinners is so successful. I was able to always approach people. I don't know why I was crazy, maybe. But no, he was playing a gig at the Cat Club in New York on 13th Street. And I went down to sound check and just asked them.
Wow.
And then we kind of talked, and it took a while for me to convince him because, like I said, he had never offered lessons before. And just recently we actually had him out to Vegas where he guested Sin City Sinners. It was really funny to small world.
Yeah.
Something like 25 years later.
Wow. And now that, of course, like we mentioned at the top of the interview, for the last 10 years you've been known as a manager, obviously, of Sin City Sinners, which is a great, you guys are very successful there in Vegas. Now, is part of the reason that you decided to go into managing bands, because like you said, well, I'm not the greatest guitar player, I can do it, but did you kind of think, well, if I can't be up on stage, I'd like to kind of at least work in the business?
I think so. It happened accidentally. I was writing movies and television stuff for a company called Troma out of New York. They made The Toxic Avenger, Class of Nukem High. They were really a big B movie studio. And I did a lot of work with them. And I got to go to the Cannes Film Festival and do a lot of cool things. And so I was going more into the entertainment industry.
Okay.
And doing more of that. And did some acting as well. And then when I got out to Las Vegas, I was a friend of mine had the rights to these old classic adult movies. He had a company called Paradise Visuals, and he asked me if I'd be partners with him in it. I didn't really know that business either. Somehow in my life, I just get into businesses, and then, now I Google how to do the businesses that I want to be in.
That's amazing.
I just somehow stumbled into things. But so I became the partner in this company, Paradise Visuals, and I knew nothing about the adult industry.
Wow.
and we made a movie. For Paradise Visuals. Everyone said, well, you haven't made a movie in 25 years. So we made a movie. It was a crazy experience. I had no idea how to make an adult movie. And then I got used to it. And then a friend of mine wanted me to make some movies for a popular actress named Sunny Leone. And so I did that, and those movies were distributed by Vivid. And I started doing some... So that industry was taking off. And so to kick off my company, Paradise Visuals... we threw a few parties, and that's how Sin City Center started.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
One thing leads to another. And I just love the fact that, like you said, well, you've always kind of had that ambitious, attitude where, I believe, too, like, if you want something, at least you got to give it a shot, give it a try, whether, it's not going to come to you necessarily.
Yeah, no, you got to be willing to take chances, and keep in mind that most people won't do it. Yeah. So if you're the one who has the guts to do it, and you got some sense. I mean, some people, I get people ask me for stuff all the time, and they're just obnoxious or they don't get it. And if you're willing to work with people and try to have a good personality, study who you're going to talk to, that's an important thing to do. Know the person that you're trying to get into business with. But I was fortunate. Back in the day, I met Brent Muscat, who was in Faster Pussycat.
Of course, yeah.
I went to see Dee Dee Ramone play, who I also knew at a club called Pinky's, and Dee Dee Ramone canceled, and Brent's band Bubble filled in. Okay. And so that's how I got to know him. And together, him and I had a lot of ideas about putting together a band and to play in Vegas, and this idea of we'll have different guests appear every week, and it went through a bunch of different lineups, and then it was hard to get a gig for a band that didn't really exist. What I did is I threw parties during the AVN convention for my company, and I picked the guys that I thought were good. Todd Kearns was this guy from Canada that no one knew who he was, but he was incredible. He was an amazing singer, amazing guitar player, and later Slash found that out and hired him.
Yeah. And talk about Todd, I remember, and Faster Pussycat, when there were two Faster Pussycats going on, he was in one of them.
I managed that a little bit, the fake Faster Pussycat.
Okay.
Although Brent had a good write. At that time, Tammy put out a remix album that was all really ridiculous industrial versions.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Fans hated it. It was terrible. And so at that point, Brent got Eric Stacey and Brett Bradshaw, and so he had three of the. And Brett's not the first drummer, but he was on the second album. He's important, and I think the fans liked it, and I was a big part of that, getting Todd in that as well. That we were going to use somebody else, but he was so good. He sang the backup so incredible. And again, Kurt Frolick was a singer. But I went out with him for a few shows to do that. And it just, long story short, he didn't want to fight for the name when it came down to the legal end of it. He did register the name. I'm not sure if what he did was right or wrong, to be honest. Looking back, he probably did the wrong thing. That was the beginning, though, of every band thinking you could have two versions. I mean, some bands still dumb enough to think that. But so anyway, but we just decided, we knew the band was good. It was more of a, and I don't want to say punk rock, but it was very organic then. It was like more, it wasn't about shredding and things like that. And most of the guys were kind of unknown, except Brent had his Faster Pussycat background. The other guys were all local kind of lounge guys, never professional, but no one was really a name, and so I'm kind of a one-man interview. Sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Very interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff people have never heard before, or at least I wasn't aware of. The kind of behind-the-scenes story. So I dig it for that reason alone. Now, I haven't talked about it in a while, so it makes it easier to tell these old stories again. But but fast forwarding 10 years ahead, the band now is all known guys, so it's a very different thing now. Now it's an all-star band. We got Jizzy Pearl from Love Hate and formerly Rat singing. We got Oz Fox from Striper on guitar. We got Rowan Robertson from Dio on guitar. And then when he's available, we have Lost Elias from Slaughter on drums. And then Scotty Griffin, who's in LA Guns, on bass. So it's a different thing now. Sinners has kind of evolved from these kind of lounge guys who
We made a lot of original music to where we're at now. And I'm not sure we will make original music again. I don't think that that's the priority. It's a different band now. Now it's really an all-star band. When you come to see Sinners, you come to hear cover songs, and you come to hear Slaughter, Striper, LA Guns, Love, Hate. And that's kind of what we give people. And we've been traveling. We're going to Texas this weekend.
Wow. Yeah. I got to say, Jason, congratulations to you, because, you seem like a guy that's really got a vision. And what I mean is, up until just a few years, it's amazing. I was just reading today on your website that Sin City Sinners is getting ready to celebrate the 10th anniversary. But I remember before the Sinners launched that, Las Vegas isn't what it is today. Las Vegas is kind of what Los Angeles was to the music industry, in the 80s. A lot of those LA guys are moving up to Vegas and getting gigs there. And then, of course, there's what they call Music City, Nashville City. But those are like the two big places for music these days, is Las Vegas and Nashville, of course. And the interesting thing, like you said, is Sin City Sinners started out as one thing, and it's morphed into this thing. But you guys are almost like the Vegas house band, if because that's one of the bands people are always talking about, in Vegas.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. I'm glad we've kept that. In LA, no one was getting paid. All these guys were paying to play and doing these silly jam nights.
It's just ridiculous. Even the tribute bands, which is
it's and there's nothing really good coming out of it, to be honest. And everyone was trying to make a dime, but going and doing these silly jam nights and making $50. It just didn't make sense. So most of those guys, a lot of those guys, ended up moving out here. The cost of living in Vegas is cheaper than the cost of living in LA.
Oh,
and
yeah.
There are shows and things to do out here. But when Sinners started, everything was bands wearing silly costumes and playing the tracks. People were shocked that we never used the backing track.
Yeah.
We don't use any of that stuff. And so Sinners was kind of it was a change. It was a different thing, and somehow we started playing in the dive bar, which is a little tiny dump. It's like CBGB's. I hear people talk about CBGB's like this glamorous place, and then John Ramone would say it's a dump. That's really what it was, and that's what the dive bar was. There was nothing nice about it. They were always out of things. They're nice people who run it, I guess, but there was nothing special about it. But we made it into something. We made it into a hangout. Todd wrote a song that mentioned it, but what happened was we were filling it. It was packed.
Wow.
So eventually, a place called Diablo was on the Strip, was interested in us, and then the casinos got into it. And we just started becoming this casino band, but we were the only band playing some of the crazy stuff in big casinos. And, in 2010, Sin City Sinners made a record called Exile on Fremont Street, and I think the record would have been much bigger had Todd not left to join Slash. That took the wind out of our sails. Not blaming him for taking the opportunity, but the record did really well. We did a record release party. We sold 500 CDs in the first night.
And didn't you guys also do a Christmas album?
We did 2 Christmas albums. Okay. Those were my ideas to do. They were to raise money for Toys for Tots.
Wow.
And they were really fun. They did make a lot of money. And they still, all the money that comes in from those records to this day still goes to Toys for Tots. But they're really fun records. Sinners Christmas 1 and 2. That's when Twisted Sister and everyone was getting into the rock and roll Christmas theme. But it was fun. That was also the first time I wrote a song professionally. Me and Zach, the singer at the time, wrote a song called Christmas in Vegas.
Wow.
which was pretty popular. It's an original song. It plays on the radio out here every Christmas, and it's on internet radio and all those other places, and it downloads, and all the profits from that also go to Twisted for Tots. So.
Wow, it's amazing. You bring up Twisted Sister, and it's pretty funny because they've since retired and hung it up, called it a day, but for years they hadn't been heard from, they hadn't released any new music, and then they put out that Christmas album, and that's the biggest thing they've done in years. It just amazes you that you can do stuff like that. And
they that brought it back, and it brought attention to a lot of fans. The charity angle was always something that was close to my heart, but of course it also brought a lot of attention to new fans while supporting a good cause. So, but altogether, I think Sin City Sinners made 6 records, something like that.
Wow, and the cool thing about the Sin City Sinner story to me is, it's not like it's not one of those typical situations in the music industry where you got this crooked manager who he's taking advantage of all these talented musicians and he's making all the money. What it sounds like is you guys have been successful and everybody that's involved in the project is sharing in the success. I think that's.
It depends which one of those guys you ask. But
well, yeah, I hear you.
The lineup has changed. Believe me, over the 10 years, the lineup has changed, and there's been some drama. I mean, to get to where we are now, took some work. There were some smooth years, and there were some really rough years. Last 2 years were really bad because of a bad management decision that I made.
Yes. And but yet you've come out of it. And what I mean is, like we said, you're now celebrating 10 years of a Sin City Sinners. So the fact that you've been going strong for 10 years, that says something. And
yes.
If you don't mind now, I would like to talk a little bit about your brief association with Bob Blotzer. Now, interesting thing about that is I understand initially how you hooked up with him is he was invited to come out as a guest of a Sin City Sinner show. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but when he came out, he kind of got the idea, hey, this is a great band. And then that's kind of ultimately the band that kind of morphed into his...
Yeah, Fake Rat. But what had happened was in 2010, when Todd was on tour with Slash, we were looking at guests, and Bob was coming to Vegas for someone's wedding.
Okay.
And he was up to come jam with us. I don't know who knew him or how, but somehow it worked out. Eric Dover was singing with us that night, and so Bob came in and he played, and you know what? And everyone told me this guy's an asshole. He's a drunk. He's a nightmare. And I have to be honest, he was fine.
Yeah.
He might have been drinking, but he was fine. He played one full set with us of covers, no attitude, no ego. He was nice to the fans, and that was it. And I hadn't seen him for years. And then when we were looking for guests again, every few years we go to a new venue, we redo the guests. Okay. So somebody said, why don't you bring Bob Blotzer back in? I said, well, it's funny that Jizzy Pearl is our singer. Jizzy wasn't the singer yet. It was Josh, who ended up being the singer for Fake Rat. But I said, yeah, it'd be fun, but let's call Jizzy to have him come out. It'd be sort of like a reunion.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Bob was getting weird, though, coming up to that show. He was calling me drunk and yelling at me. And he was really way over interested in a guest spot. Most guests just show up and play. We've had big ones.
Yeah.
We did a charity show with Slash, Sammy Hagar, Alice Cooper, Vince Neil, Todd Rundgren, all in one night. And every one of those guys was easy. So to have Bob Blotzer kind of bitching at me was very strange, but whatever. I figured I'll never talk to this guy after the show anyway. So we had this guitar player, Blaze, who a woman named Sally Steele recommended to me. He was 21 years old, and he was very like Warren. He had a similar style, and was way above his years. So I asked him to come in and play some of that. And I asked Jizzy to guest on a few songs, because Josh didn't know anything about Rat.
Okay.
He was a younger guy also.
Yeah.
And, he was 30 at the time, but he wasn't a fan, and I thought it was too many songs for him to learn. So that night, he only ended up doing one or two. He did Dance, and that was about it. And anyway, I thought after the show went good, but after the show, I thought I'll never hear from this Blotzer again. Yeah. And then he called me, bro, you want to make some money? I want you to manage this. And so he basically wanted to take the band that I assembled and do something with it. He didn't know exactly what. I was interested if the guys were interested. I felt like it's a chance, first of all, to make some money.
Yeah.
I felt that it would help Sin City Sinners, and it would keep us all together, rather than him just try to steal our singer or whatever.
Yeah.
So we didn't know what to call it. I came up with the Rat Experience. I just stole it from the Jason Bonham Experience.
Yeah, there you go.
Zeppelin Experience, whatever he calls it. That's all it was. And we tried to do it, and he came and did a show in Vegas, and it was good. The show was packed. A lot of those people were Sin City Sinner fans. He could say whatever he wants. There's a reason why we're popular in Vegas. Mm-hmm. And he slowly started to get a little more delusional. It took a little while.
Yeah.
But, he wanted to play the full, I guess it was Invasion record.
Yeah.
And he started cutting certain songs, and it's like, well, we'll just play 8 of them. Well, that's not playing the full record.
Yeah.
8 out of 10 is not an album. So he the more comfortable he got, the more delusional he got.
Now let me ask you, at this point, did the Sin City Sinners cease to exist for a while? Did he only say, hey, I want to take this band and forget about the Sin City Sinners? So
in the beginning, he was fine with us doing Sin City Sinners. We made way more money in Sin City Sinners than we ever made with Fake Rat, or the Fake Rat Experience. But he did start hinting that he didn't want us to do that anymore, and that being in Rat would be a way bigger deal, and that we would all get rich and buy houses and make an album. Wow. Meanwhile, some of those guys were green and had very little experience. I had just been on the road with Winger doing some stuff, and a bunch of other bands, and Scotty had just been with LA Guns for years. We kind of had a better idea of what was going on, and we knew that this is kind of bullshit, you know, and we also all knew that Warren DeMartini was out there. And there was a good chance that he was going to stop this, you know. So none of us took him that well. Me and Scotty didn't take him serious. The other clowns at times believed him, and he didn't give Josh an ultimatum that he had to quit the Sin City Sinners to be a singer for Fake Rat. Wow. He offered him good. He offered him good money. He did kind of make it difficult for Josh. I get that. But at the same time, no one knows where Josh is now. You know, no offense to him, but nobody has any clue what he's doing. Todd Kearns has advertised him as an opening act. Those guys like to do these things. Hey, can we curse on this thing?
Yeah, that's fine,
Okay. Yeah, some of those guys like to fuck with me and like, oh, well, I know, we'll just book him. So Todd Kearns tried to have Josh open 2 of his shows, and both shows he did show up.
Wow.
So when I say that certain people are difficult to manage, well, he's one of them. And there's a reason why no one's heard from him. Was he a good singer? Yeah. But we busted our ass to teach him how to do it. And Bob didn't want him. You know, here's a story that I don't know if I ever told.
I don't think so,
But Bob wanted this guy, and he's a nice guy. I talk to him now. I feel bad for not remembering his name, but I talk to him on Facebook occasionally. But he really wanted to be the singer, and Bob kind of liked him. But we wanted Josh. We didn't want to break up Sin City Sinners. So Bob had this idea to have these 2 guys come to a Sin City Sinners show and do like a voice thing where the audience votes on who gets to be the singer. Oh, wow. And it was really ridiculous. And I wasn't going to have Josh do that at his own band. So me and Scotty fought for Josh. There's absolutely no way Josh would have got the gig if it wasn't for me and Scotty.
Wow.
And Bob said he's got to get me a demo. And Josh was very lazy, didn't want to do it, didn't get to it. And I found somebody in town who would let him do it for free. He came and he sang over the Rat tracks. Wow. And he was great. You know, I knew he could do it. Bob did not think he could. Bob didn't like his hairstyle. Bob didn't like the way he moved. Bob's the most delirious guy you'll ever encounter. So, anyway, we fought for Josh. He got the gig, and in the end, he fucked us over. And we made a record. We have a dangerous history of making records. We made a record called Let It Burn. It's a good record. I wrote 4 of the songs on the record. And the day of the record release party, the next day, Josh quit.
Wow.
And then our very delusional guitar player quit next. And so that left me with Scotty and Bloss. Funny, Scotty and Bloss were the only 2 guys in the band who actually had any credits. Interesting how that worked out. The smart guys stayed. And guess what? They're still there, and we're still doing well. And, so that's what happens.
That's great. Now, I'd like to ask you a few more questions about your experience with Bob, because, like you said, at one point you guys originally were calling the band the Bobby Blotzer Experience. And to me, that had a little more merit because, okay, he was a member of Rat. He's going out celebrating the music of Rat. Okay, there's some validity to that. But it almost seemed to me like the night the night before they played the LA show at the Whiskey, he puts on his Facebook, major announcement, check this out.
I did it.
And it almost seemed like this guy has had this planned all along, And he's going to try his thing doing the Fake Rat, and I think
it was always in the back of his mind. Just to get into some of the logistics of it. Fake Rat was making $3,000 to $5,000. I mean, excuse me, the Fake Rat Experience, as I call it. But when he changed the name to Rat, the money went to in the $20,000 range. That's a lot of money,
of course,
especially for just a drummer. Who didn't write anything that mattered.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't. He was not the reason why Rat is successful by any means. But so he did it for the money. And I don't. Part of me doesn't knock him for trying. I don't know. What are you going to do? The other guys didn't want to tour at that time. I think it was more they didn't want to tour with him. But that's my opinion. But so we were in LA. He wanted us all to stay at his house. And me and Scotty said, no way. He lived that way out, nowhere near Hollywood. And I said, no, I remember we went to rehearsal. I saw his house, and I go, I'm not staying here with these guys to get this. So I went and got a hotel, and Scotty stayed with a friend. And that night we went to the Whiskey. And right before, the Rainbow. And right before we went to the Rainbow, Bob made me put on Facebook, we're calling it Rat. And tomorrow we're putting up these Rat banners. And he was prepared. I mean, we kind of knew it was coming. Mm-hmm. And it was strange. Carlos Cavazzo was actually at the show. He was in Rat now. Yeah. And I think I was embarrassed. And I know him. And I was embarrassed to talk to him. I was very embarrassed of that whole experience.
I mean, to me as a fan, it almost seemed, on Bob's part, not necessarily but you or other guys, but it almost seemed like a publicity stunt. Okay, I'm testing the waters, seeing how people react to this, and then we're going to have a home show and call it Rat. And, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, Jason. Like, ultimately, I've been a diehard Rat fan for years.
Me too.
Up until the point where, like I made a few comments on Facebook about, the way Bob talks about the other guys, and this and that, and not even expecting this guy's going to react to what I say. He reacted back so nasty. I can't remember, like, "F you, man. You don't know what it's like to work with Steven and Warren and all this crap like that." And I thought, well, you talk about you're to the fans, but the minute fans aren't kissing your ass, the minute somebody says something that you don't agree with, you attack your fans, for one thing.
Well, now he doesn't know what it's like to work with Stephen and Warren either. So
yeah, and then, see, the funny thing is, I agree with what you're saying is, okay, you're lucky, Bob, to have been in that band. But, and what gets me is, he attacks the other guys. Well, if it wasn't for these other guys, Stephen hiring you and these other guys writing all these hit songs that you're playing, you wouldn't even have a career. You're going out hiring this fake band and you're attacking Steven, Warren, and Juana. Even Juan to me has more validity going out, doing his solo shows and playing the rap music, because he wrote a lot of that music, where Bob didn't write any of it.
Yeah, I didn't think Juan, no offense to Juan, I don't think his band was very good. But that's, I don't think Bob was wrong on that one. And Juan was playing really small venues.
Yeah.
I like Juan, but I did not think that. And then him calling it, because he was calling it Rat Swan Creek. He was using the Rat logo at one point. He wasn't playing it as well as he should have at that time. But I don't think Bob should have tried to sue him. That's where this all happened.
See, that's the thing.
Bob tried to sue him.
You're suing a guy. You're suing a guy that wrote a lot of his songs. It's really.
Well, it's not just that. It turns out that Juan had rights to the name that nobody knew he did, and guess what? It would never have come up if Bob didn't sue him.
That's so funny you said that, because. When I read what the judge's decision in that case was, I thought, Bob, you really screwed yourself over here. If you would have just not filed that lawsuit, you might still have.
He was greedy. He told me in the McCarran Airport here in Las Vegas. I point the spot out every time I fly. He told me I'm going to take their houses. I Zillowed their houses. I know what they're worth. I'm going to take Juan's house. If anything, Bob will probably be bankrupt. If he's not already, and he's a bankrupt human. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I've talked so much about him in this, the Classic Metal Show interviews.
Oh yeah, I've heard those, and it just amazes me, because I've never even met the guy, but he seems so delusional at times. Like we're saying, and like where if you really look at the history of Rat, not only is Warren one of the principal songwriters, but he formed the band with Steven and Robin, and the thing is,
I think Steven was I think Steven really created Mickey Rat and then turned it into Rat, and Warren, his guitar sound was, I don't think he really wrote as much, but he's such a phenomenal guitar player.
Oh, no doubt. I think people would rather see
band and Bob's contributions. He also, his vision of what Rat was supposed to be was wrong. He wanted to play the worst songs, or he just had his own agenda. And just to be brief, everything I've said about him is an understatement. He's the worst person walking the earth. He's a liar, a thief, a cheat, and then there's other things I can't even say.
I hear you.
These are my opinions. Anyone can Google him and find out what kind of human or kind of person he is. I can't call him a man.
I hear you.
But I've got voicemails of this guy threatening. I can't even get into all of it, but he is worse than every. He's fun to make fun of. Believe me, to this day, I still love making fun of him. And look, come on. At the end of the day, he's the ultimate loser. He failed. He's a loser.
The last thing I'm going to say on this matter is that it's almost laughable. Like when I read some of his press releases he put out, like saying that Warren DeMartini, he did not show up to
I wrote those too.
A shareholders meeting. He is now I've made him the vice president of guitars, and he no longer has a say in rap because I'm the only one that's kept it going. And like, yeah.
I give Warren credit. Warren stayed quiet during that nonsense. Warren never took social media. He just let the lawyers legal handle it. Same thing with Steven. All those guys, they never got into mudslinging. When I was on the Classic Metal Show talking trash, I'm sure those guys loved it, but they didn't have to do it. I got to expose Bob. They just stayed and ran the course legally.
Yeah.
I was at their first show in Minneapolis. You know, they were fantastic. You know, they've all been very nice to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I see Steven, pretty frequently.
Yeah, but,
so, yeah.
And that shows, that's one thing I always question too. I thought, okay, these guys are very smart. They're not getting into the mudslinging. And the funniest thing about it all is, for the last, since it came out pretty much that the other guys won the name, he's remained more quiet than I ever seen him remain. I mean, he's not been saying anything at all, which tells me that there's some validity. Okay, but yeah, but other guys do own the name. You have no,
They own it 100%. He's crazy. He still tells people that he's going to come back. His band of Scabs was such a joke. He had, when you get the fake rat experience, it was just such a joke, and he deserves every bad thing that happens to him.
The only thing I'll say about that band is some of the guys he got, like, Mitch Perry, Stacey Blaze, even, Scotty Griffin you were talking about. The funny thing to me is, okay, some of those guys, I didn't understand why they hooked up with. I mean, like you said, maybe the money or whatever. But I dare say that all those guys were much more talented than Bob, which was kind of a funny thing.
Yeah, they weren't very. Honestly, though, I don't think, other than the original lineup that I put together, I don't think any of those guys were that good, to be honest. Yeah. And they certainly weren't good at playing rat songs. It's not easy. Rat songs are very difficult to play. And the guys that he hired afterwards butchered it, and you can watch the videos and watch them play terribly. They could not do it. Maybe they're good at other things, but they were not. Yeah. Rat is not an easy. Warren DeMartini is not an easy guitar player to emulate. Blaze did it well. I don't think any of the other guys did it.
It's funny you say that because Blaze might be a talented guitar player, but like I've commented several times, like on Facebook and stuff. I've commented to other people. Bob is somewhat delusional in the sense that I've heard him make comments about, Warren DeMartini, he can't play like he used to. He's going deaf. I was thinking, wait a minute, Bob. Nothing against Blaze, but if I have a choice to go see a guy named Blaze versus Warren DeMartini, I think I'd rather see Warren DeMartini. Yeah.
Well, in Blaze's defense, though, Blaze is the only one of those guys who's successful. Every one of those guys is doing nothing except Blaze. Blaze just got off tour opening for Carrie Underwood, and he's in a successful country band that's playing sold out shows. He works. Blaze is working.
Oh, good for him.
It's because he's talented. He didn't need to be Warren DeMartini. Those other guys are doing nothing.
Well, see, and that's
no one who's involved with Blotzer is doing anything.
And the sad thing about that band too is, like, you take a guy that's got somewhat talent, like Josh Allen. Like I watch a lot of the YouTube videos. Nothing against Josh. He's probably a very talented singer in his own right. Maybe if he could get that commitment down and he could go and write some original tunes, maybe one day people take more notice of him. But watching those YouTube videos, it's almost like he was a Stephen Pearcy clone. I mean, he had the moves down.
That was a little bit my fault too. It's a little bit all our faults, trying to make him something. He grew up more in the grunge era, where you stare at your shoes and stuff.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to give him some personality. But anyway, we could talk about this all day.
Yeah, but before we end this, so what I do want to get into, I was going to just say that because this is just a very interesting topic. But I do want to get into real quickly the Sin City Rejects, which is kind of you play bass for the band, and Scotty Griffin's in the band, and I know you guys are kind of start out as a punk thing where you're doing a lot of punk covers, but you were telling me the other day in preparation for this that you guys are getting ready to release an all original CD. So talk a little bit how this band came together.
Yeah, Sin City Rejects is really my passion these days. I love the Sinners, but so we used to do a moment in the Sinners show where Scotty would sing a couple songs to give our singer a break. And so at one point, Josh would come out and play bass. Someone would always play bass so Scotty could sing. Scotty's got a real funny, he's a front man. He's like David Lee Roth. You meet Steve Baders. He's got Iggy Pop. He's got a lot of energy. And people love when he does it.
Somebody told me that at one point he also as a front man. He had a an All-Star Kiss tribute or something a few years back.
He did. I don't know if I call it All-Star, but he had a bunch of guys, and he had a band. He called it Kiss My Ass, and he was the Gene in that band. They wore the makeup, but they wore regular clothes. But yeah, he did that. He always wanted to sing, and he was trying to put something together in town, and I just didn't think it was very good. But he kind of got ripped online and stuff for his dancing and things. But I still saw potential, and well, I didn't even know how to play the bass. I had no clue.
Wow.
Once in a blue moon, I played with the Sinners, like when someone told me where to put my fingers, but I had no idea. And so when Josh left, we still wanted to play the songs with Scotty, and we thought it'd be fun to have someone play bass. And Scotty had the confidence that I could do it. And so the first time I ever played bass was live in front of an audience. We never rehearsed. I never got to go to a rehearsal. I still haven't been to a rehearsal.
But how punk rock is that? I mean, and you're talking to guys, I can't even strum a guitar, so let me ask you, as somebody that's done it, is playing a bass that much more different than playing a regular 6-string guitar, or a little bit.
Yeah. I think it helps to know how to play guitar first.
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
How to play chords. Because my style of bass playing, I'm not Billy Sheehan, obviously. But, and I wouldn't want to be. But my style of playing is I play the root notes of the guitar chords. Okay. So I'm pretty much playing rhythm guitar on bass. And sometimes it's easier, and sometimes it's a little bit more difficult because you have to play in time with the drums. If you don't know how to do that, and I did not, I'm still learning, it's very difficult. Like I said, it was just a gimmick, and we kind of started it just to piss people off. We thought it'd be funny, and we knew it would bother everybody that I would come up and play. So I would play one song a night, Scotty would sing it, and then we thought, let's try 2 and then 3, and we were really having fun, and Scotty's been a really good friend to me. And so we saw this guy Johnny Rocks play guitar in town. He was amazing. He's one of the best guys I've seen in this town. He can sing, he can play guitar, He kind of looks like he looks like he could be in the New York Dolls. But we thought he's not going to get what we want to do, because me and Scotty were saying we should be a punk band. But we didn't know how to play. Scotty had never sang before. He really wasn't a singer. I mean, he never fronted a band, and I'd never played bass before. So we were really an organic punk band. But Johnny got it, and he even says it took him a while to learn from going to being a shredder to being a punk player. He had changed style a little bit. And so we just, in November of last year, we said, I had a lot of connections in town. I wanted to throw a birthday party for myself. I said, let's get the Hard Rock Cafe, and we'll get some opening bands, some guests. And we had Scott Coogan play drums that night.
Oh, wow, okay.
Who plays with Ace Frehley and Stephen Pearson. He did not know one song in our set. He literally listened at the bar before the show from an iPhone to try to learn the songs, and that's punk rock.
Yeah.
He's an amazing drummer. So it was the 4 of us, and my friend Rachel was in the band that opened up for us, and later, April this year, she would join the band. But it was really a funny thing, because we played these punk songs. I was diagnosed with diabetes the day before the first show.
Wow.
And I was legally blind. So at that first show, not only had I never played with a live drummer before or play a concert, I also couldn't see. And I had an insulin shot on stage. I had a chair to lean on in case I ran out of energy, because my blood sugar at that point was in the 500s.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's amazing, because I've seen photos of you. Not that this has anything to do with it, but you're a relatively skinny guy. When you think of people having,
I'm a powerful and a handsome man. Yeah.
But what I mean is, typically people think of overweight people having diabetes, but I guess that's a myth.
Yeah, don't fall for that. Yeah, it's carbs and sugar. People don't realize you don't have to be fat to ingest too much carbs. Our
makes sense. Yeah,
loaded with it.
Yeah, makes sense.
I did lose a lot of weight. Though, as well. I mean, I weigh 143 pounds now. That's definitely down. I felt like, though, people come to see a band, they don't want to see the fat manager or whatever. Yeah. And
did you luckily you got your sight back, but did you kind of see that as a sign that, hey, I better get this under control?
Oh, it was the wake-up call of all wake-up calls, I'm very lucky. I'm on a pretty strict diet these days, and and I'm doing good, and I can see again. Yeah, it's amazing. Who knew? I didn't know. So that first Reject show was really tough. I didn't know. And then the next day was Thanksgiving, but it went well. People seemed to like it, and then it started wanting more of it, and this club Vamped here, that's the popular club in Las Vegas, they were willing to take a chance on us.
Wow.
And so we did Rejects opening for Sinners. That
was my next question. If you guys have ever done shows together now, now how cool, like you said, you just kind of taught yourself to play bass, or you're learning currently as you're going. That how punk rock is that? That's what I love. Like you're mentioning, I don't necessarily know, but I'd want to be Billy Sheehan, because to me, there's two type of musicians. There's guys like Joe Satriani. They can play amazingly. They can play anything technically precise. And then there are guys, kind of what you guys are doing. Just you're doing the rock thing, and whatever comes out, and that's cool too. I mean, it's amazing when you look at a guy like Eddie Van Halen. He's such an amazing player, but yet he can't read a lick of music. Who would have thought that?
Yeah. And I love all those guys, but most of those guys couldn't play punk. You know what I mean? Like they couldn't downstroke fast enough with the right hand. They wouldn't have the feel to do it. They know how to shred, and that's great. It's amazing.
And I know you guys have played stuff like the Sex Pistols and obviously the Ramones and the Clash and stuff like that. So how do you come up with a set list? Did you just say, okay, these are our favorite punk tunes that we want to do? Does everybody kind of...
When we started, we said, let's just pick like the greatest hits of punk. So we started with Clash, Ramones, Sex Pistols, like you said. But then we said, let's educate some people. So we snuck in the little Dead Boys and some of the cooler punk. I mean, I grew up on it. I'm from New York City. I knew punk. We started sneaking a few in, but the audience, started digging it, and the venues wanted more. And so we had to keep adding more songs. So we opened for Sinners, and then Vamped asked us to open for Jet Boy, which was a lot of fun. So we did that, and again, the audience started coming. A lot of people said there was more people there to see us than Jet Boy.
And now I understand you guys got a Tuesday night residency there. How cool is that?
Yeah, and then we got offered this Tuesday night residency at the Golden Tiki, which is really one of the coolest places here in town. It's got amazing exotic drinks. It's like an adult Disneyland. It's just a cool hang. They let us do whatever we want. We come in, we play 2 hours of punk. We don't just play punk there. We play new wave and rock. We mix it up.
And I understand that you guys are going to be doing a show in, I guess, the LA Hollywood area coming up in November. Will you be doing other touring outside of like Las Vegas once the CD comes out?
Yeah. So what's funny is that the Rejects is really growing organically the way that Sinners did. Yeah. Sinners started in a little shitty bar, and then we started having guests, and then we started getting shows, and now we're traveling, and it's kind of happened the same way. Some of these songs me and Scotty wrote for the Rejects, and we had them laying around, and then some of them we wrote to make an original record. Yeah. So we have this original record. We're going to launch a Pledge Music campaign any day now, just so people can pre-order it. But we're going to go do some shows with the Dead Boys, which is one of my favorite bands of all time.
Wow.
Not all the dates are done yet. We're still working on it, but right now the ones that are confirmed is we're doing Las Vegas, a place called the Beauty Bar. I believe that's November 9th, and then the next day we're doing the Viper Room in Hollywood, which is great, with Dead Boys again.
Wow.
And I believe we're going to add another leg of dates with them.
And so you say you're starting a pledge campaign, so that's just like kind of to get orders for the CD in, but now have you guys actually recorded anything? Getting ready to go in and record?
We've demoed everything, and we'll go in to record probably in about 2 weeks. It won't take long to record a punk song, and they're all pretty arranged and written already. And so we have 13 songs, 12 songs, and possibly a cover, but and it's all together. We also play a lot of our original songs in our set now, so people already kind of know a bunch of them. And then when we do the Dead Boy shows, we'll play most of them.
And so I was curious, once the CD comes out, will you continue to have covers in the set, or?
I think it really depends on the venue. I think when we play something like the Golden Tiki, people come out to hear the covers. Yeah. But I think when we do our headlining show, or when we do shows with other bands, we'll do more of the originals. It's a good mix. Sinners did that too. We mixed the originals with the covers. We're going to start doing the guests. We have Richie Ramone playing drums on September 14th with us, and we might have him play on our record as well, and some other We got some cool stuff. I got some good punk guys.
And do you have
a sleeve to play on the record?
Wow, do you have a targeted release date for this yet, or is it still?
Yeah, we're looking at Black Friday or African American Friday, if you're politically correct.
Wow, I like that.
That would be November 24th this year, day after my birthday, and the day after our first concert. So yeah, exactly 1 year later, we'll put a full-length album out and then have a tour. So
wow.
Cincinnati Rejects is moving really fast. What started as just a joke to piss people off has really got some steam, and a lot of people are getting educated to these punk songs for the first time. A lot of people come out to our shows and say they never would have known this music.
Yeah, and that's a cool thing to me, whether we're talking about the Sin City Sinners or the Sin City Rejects. I mean, okay, you can't actually call it like a tribute band, a cover. Like Sin City Sinners, you could almost say, okay, it's a tribute to that, to that era. And like you said, you make a lot of people maybe that weren't around when this music was originally, out, aware that this music exists. And then the cool thing about the Rejects is, you started out kind of as a cover band just to kind of get out there, but you guys are probably, because there's not too many punk bands really, and a lot of the great legendary bands are no longer around, and so you guys are really the only original punk band out there. That's got to be a cool thing, to get the scene going again.
Yeah, while it's not a tribute band per se.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Or a nod to those bands.
That's what I'm saying, and I don't even think you could say you guys are a tribute band because you do have your own original CD coming out. It's just kind of right now you're doing these covers to get out there, and I understand that, but that's what I'm saying. So people, if anybody dares to call us a tribute band, that's not at all what this is.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, exactly. Although people are getting to see. I try to play with the Dee Dee Ramone, Sid Vicious kind of style. So people who haven't seen punk, or Iggy, or for Scotty, they are getting elements of what classic punk is about, which I love. It's good to bring that to our guitar player Rachel. She's only 24 years old, and she knows more about punk than probably all the guys in the band. It's like young people are starting to really. People want to bash Spotify and all these things. I'm pro Spotify personally. I like this technology, and because there's an education in music, it's at your fingertips. You hear about a band, you can find them in 2 seconds. And it's people are listening to music again. There was a time when I think people weren't listening to music.
Definitely. I mean,
so Cincinnati Rejects is record in November. Got some tour dates in November. Golden Tiki residency is open ended. We played our 11th show there last night, and it's going to keep going as long as we can keep it going. Cincinnati Sinners is doing great. We're on tour this fly dates this weekend in Texas, and a lot more of that. We do a lot of private events. Most people don't see what Cincinnati Sinners does.
Yeah.
Most of what we do is corporate events. And then we do some stuff around town, but we stay busy, and so I'm very fortunate to have.
Sounds like it. Now the Rejects, as far as the writing for that CD, like, did you and Scotty write a lot of the stuff together?
Yeah, I'd say 70% of it's written by me and Scotty, and then the other percentage is written by me and Johnny. Johnny had some songs that he brought in and asked me if I would help with the lyrics or change some of the lyrics. And actually, I pitched him on a couple and had him play guitar. And then the rest, is me and Scotty. Me and Scotty have an interesting songwriting relationship. We're like Elton John and Bernie Taupin. Maybe our songs aren't that good, but I write the lyrics, he writes the music, and so. Well, I
can't wait to hear how it came out, but I think you and Scotty getting together might just been the best thing for the two of you. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, I first came aware, like a lot of people, Scotty when he was with LA Guns, but I think as talented as he was in LA Guns, that he was just kind of really a sideman in that band, and the great thing about these projects you guys are doing is he's been moved up to the front, and people are going to find out that this guy, he can sing. He's a decent enough singer. He's not just a bass player. He can write his own tunes. So I think people.
Agree with you. Yeah, people will get a side of him they've never seen before. He's a very talented musician. I mean, he came up. Punk isn't always easy. These aren't all simple songs.
Yeah.
He came up with some really good, clever parts. I love when I write a song and I hand it to him and then see what kind of melodies he comes up with. Because it's in some ways like handing over your kid. You write this thing, you labor over it, and then you hand it over, and you hope someone does the right thing. I love what he does with my words, and I think we collaborated on some really fun songs. We played 3 of them last night.
Wow.
A song called Stronger Than This that him and I wrote together. We play a song called If Marijuana that he wrote for the Sinners that's going to go on this record. And then we play one that me and Johnny wrote called Mary Jane is a Punk. And then the record is called Death of a Nation.
See, and when you're doing punk, a lot of it, the cool thing about punk is you don't necessarily have to be musically precise. I mean, a lot of it is just the attitude, And like I go on your guys' Facebook page, and I mean, you guys got some really cool looking photos. I mean, you just look at those photos and you're like, oh man, this is really punk,
Yeah, we can do all the things the Sinners can't do. Sinners is a little bit more corporate and controlled, and the Rejects were up for anything. And yeah, it gets pretty. We get pretty crazy. We know how to control depending on the venue, but it's punk is fun. And I was the real Sid Vicious in the sense that I didn't know how to play when we started.
Wow,
that's it.
There you go. And the cool thing for you, Jason, is the fact that you got the I don't know what else you're involved with, but you got these two major projects going, and they're both very successful, and so there's no shortage of work. So that's a good thing for you. Now, before we wrap this up, I just want to ask a few more things about the Sinners, because I did read today that you guys are celebrating your 10th anniversary, and I did see that you have some T-shirts and stuff for sale that is like a limited run, and that all that money goes to, I think I heard, fiber cirrhosis.
Yeah, it's a portion of it. Yeah, it goes to cystic fibrosis, breast cancer, and then the NSBCA.
And those are great causes. I'm just curious, any particular reason, those are the causes you're doing? Like, is that special to your heart for any reason? Like, did you lose somebody to that, or?
Yeah, I had a girlfriend who passed away from cystic fibrosis.
Oh, okay.
And that was in, I'm going to say 2014.
Okay. Again, sorry for your loss, because I've seen some of the things you posted about that, and terrible that you had to go through that. But but what a great thing you're doing there, in her memory.
Well, thank you. Well, I've had some bad luck because I also lost my ex-girlfriend Deborah. While I was doing the fake rat stuff.
Oh, okay. Wow. So two different people we're talking about. Wow.
Yeah. It's coming off the worst year of my life. To have Rejects and to play with my heroes, the Dead Boys, and Chiron, and all these things has really been amazing, because you never know what's going to happen to you. And at my age, you're not supposed to lose two girlfriends, like that. So it's crazy. But so when Amanda passed away, I was already into charity for cystic fibrosis before she passed. But so now I constantly give back to it. I also have some really good friends who have it right now.
Well, what a great way to give back. So I commend you for that, because a lot of times people just say stuff, and I was just talking to this other musician the other day, and he's like, a lot of people are complaining about the state of the world. He says, I'm going to put out this new single. I'm going to donate money to, put together a foundation, going to donate money. And he says, I'm about action. Don't just complain. If you're going to complain, do something. I'm for guys that do that.
I've researched the charities that we're involved with so that I know how the money's being spent. We do the St. Baldrick's Foundation cancer event every year where people shave their heads and the money all goes to help kids fight cancer. I've seen what they do in the centers they build, amazing work. I've hosted that event for 7 years now. I do a lot of hosting stuff. And Sinners has played it every year. So, and as a band, in 10 years, we've raised over $1 million.
Well, good work, and keep that up. Congratulations. And I want to ask you about, of course, Jizzy is now the frontman for the Sinners.
Yes.
He went for a brief time, was also fronting, Quiet Riot. So I was curious, what was that period like? And were you surprised when he decided to leave Quiet Riot and do the Sinners full time?
Yeah, no, I wasn't surprised.
Makes a lot of sense, I think.
Yeah, I would love to make fun of Quiet Riot as much as I make fun of Fake Rat, but I need to have any more people complain to me, so I'm gonna
hold off on that.
Any of my Quiet Riot opinions, but no, I think that Jizzy was tired of it. I don't know. I mean, I do know. I know why he's not doing it.
No, you don't have to say it. You don't have to say it. Yeah, just good for you. Got a good guy there. See, Jizzy's a guy that I've always felt is even though he's had all these gigs, Rat and Quiet Riot and, his own band Love Hate and now the Sinners, he's always been one of these guys that's kind of remained under the radar, very talented guy. And then I also hear he's working on a solo album. Any chance that you'll be working with him on that, or?
We talked about maybe that I might direct a video for him, because I have experience doing that as well. I directed 4 videos for Winger.
Wow.
And I directed all the Sinners music videos as well. So that's the only thing with that. I mean, his solo record is his thing, and he's, he's busy
Keeping
doing
that
it.
separate,
I
yeah.
think it's done. It's coming out on Frontiers, and Jizzy has a good audience in the UK, so he'll probably play for it out there.
Yeah, and then
he's got the Sinners here.
Well, and the very last thing I want to ask you before we wrap this up is, you were saying that the Sinners is kind of you don't plan on putting out any more original music, but being the 10th anniversary, could you see putting out like some kind of like a live DVD, a live CD, or maybe like a DVD kind of telling the band's history?
I think something like that could happen. There's a lot of animosity and drama with the other guys over the years.
Wow.
I think that's finally coming to an end now. Not all of them, but some of them. But I think that's finally coming to an end. And yeah, I mean, I wish I could sit back and talk about how great the Sinners history was, all the guys. But honestly, some of the guys dislike me, and I dislike some of them. And so I've chosen to kind of talk more about the current band. I'm the only person, by the way, who was part of the Sin Cities for 10 years. I'm the only one who's been there for every show, every day.
You've kept it going, so there's something to be said for that. I mean, it started out whatever it started out, and it's become what it is, and it's still going strong.
I'm not a quitter. I'll say that. When we started it, we said we had a 10-year plan. That was, and I saw it through. And I feel like I've proven, for anyone who's ever said anything, I've proven, there's success behind Sin City Sinners, and that I did have a lot to do with it, because I'm the one who's kept it going, and and that's not to take away from the musicians, because they're amazing. If I didn't work with such talented people, I'd be in trouble. But look, as far as the old guys go, at every position in the band now, I have better players. I look at like a baseball manager. If I can put the best player on the field, I'm going to do it.
I mean, I'll compare you to some of the great managers out there. I mean, like you take like Kiss had Bill O'Coin, Doc McGee, Alice Cooper has Shep Gordon, and it all starts with a guy who has a vision. And that was you. Like you said, you probably could have done it if you didn't have any of these other guys, help get it off the ground. But you're the one that's kept it going, and there's something to be said for that. And the fact that, like you said, I started out, I've done film work, I've done adult films, I've done a lot of stuff in the music industry, I've directed music videos. So this is a guy that he wants to do something. He gives it a shot.
Yeah, I've stayed with it. I mean, if someone asks me what I do for a living, it's very hard to answer. Or what I've done in my career. I'm the kind of guy who go, yeah, I've done that. Oh, yeah, I've done that.
And you're kind of living the dream, if you will, because I could understand, me being a music fan. This is kind of how I got into interviewing bands and stuff, because I'm a fan of it. I'm not really a musician, but I like to support the bands, that I'm into and spread the word, so to speak. But like you said, you do what you can, and I think it's cool that maybe you start out as a music fan, and like you said, I'm not a very good guitar player, but you did what you did in the music industry, and now you got your own band, the Rejects. You're out there on stage.
I'm making my dreams. Believe me, I'm making my dreams come true.
And that's the cool thing about your story, Jason, because there are a lot of like you said, I'm sure you got your people that have criticized you. He's not really a great musician, but you know what? A lot of those people, they've never stepped up on stage. They haven't played a show with Jizzy Pearl or Blas Elias. So that's why I say.
I will play more shows this year than Bobby Blotzer played in the last 3.
I'm willing to believe that. Yeah. And
so I mean, take that for what it is. The moral of the story is don't hang yourself.
And don't give up. And don't give up. Yeah.
Well, Bob Blotzer could hang himself. That'd be fine. But don't give up. Because even when things seem bad, they get better. It's an amazing thing. Life is very strange. But I didn't. When I lost my ex, I thought life was over. And the band, a lot of those guys abandoned me at that time. It was really hard. And here we are, and things are strong, and so life does get better,
Yeah, and another thing, we'll end this on that I kind of agree that you said the top interview when we were started talking about Bob, is it's almost funny that, for 5 years they didn't tour or do anything. He said, none of the guys want to tour, I'm the only guy that wants to tour. But the funny thing is, when he started bringing all these lawsuits, once he was no longer in the band, they all get along fine. You take one guy out of the picture, and everybody's getting along better than ever. It's so funny. But I want to thank you, Jason, first of all, taking time to talk to me. I really enjoyed getting to know you. And do me a favor, let's stay in touch. And when the Rejects CD comes out, I want to interview you specifically, talk in great detail about the CD, so we can promote that.
With the other guys, yeah.
And So you take care, my friend, and I'll let you know when this gets posted. Just go ahead and send me your email through the Facebook, and I'll try to send you a link to this so you can check it out before it gets posted.
Okay, sounds good. Much appreciated.
Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.
Thank you.